EWN with Stan Hanel from Drive Clean Las Vegas. Before we went to break, Stan was telling us how he got into the business, or into the, I guess, mindset. It's not actually a business. Mindset of being green and sustainability. My background was more from a conservation standpoint. His is from an automotive standpoint and electronics. I had a little similar electronics background in avionics and what have you. So let's go on. As I was saying, as we went to break, what was limiting our ability to grow into the electric vehicle world was the ability to go a long distance and make it reasonable to have an electric car. If you can only go 20 miles, it doesn't make, buy a bicycle. But if you could go 200 miles, then it's starting to make sense. Then we should be switching over from gas. And so what enabled us to do that as an industry was the lithium battery. So
correct, yes.
We're talking about lithium and what it is, where does it come from? Tell us, what is lithium?
Yeah, if you check Webster's dictionary, it defines it as a soft silver white element of the alkali metal group. The lightest metal known, it's the lightest metal known, and it's used in nuclear reactions as well as in metallurgy. So basically you'll find some of the products that it started mostly because it's a light metal. The spodumene, if you're into gems, and it can be found in nature in that form. It's a crystal that's made up of lithium, aluminum, and silicate. And so it comes in a natural form like that. It has different colors. Basically, you can refine it into a gemstone and use it that way. But some people now, Namaska Lithium is a company, small company, startup company here in Nevada. They're trying to see if they can harvest lithium carbonate out of the spodumene gem. So that's one way. Basically. Lithium has been used for grease, as a lubricant. It's also been used as an additive for making glass and for making ceramics. But some other interesting byproducts of lithium are used in the mental health industry. Escalith and Lithobid are actually medicines. They are lithium carbonate. It's a compound of lithium that it basically helps with treating bipolar disorder. So it helps with the manic parts of it. So we actually can ingest lithium in the form of a pill, and it helps people who have suicidal tendencies, and actually helps with depression and manic behavior as well.
I don't suppose it's been approved for recreational use.
Not really. But what's interesting is over the years it was discovered in 1817 as an element, but used more widely in the mid-1900s for treating mental health, and it's one of the essential lists of medicines for the World Health Organization for a country should have to administer to people with mental health illnesses.
Wow.
So it's been around for a while. Yeah. Who would have thought? But the big usage of lithium, where we're concerned, is it's also used in the production of hydronuclear bombs. So it's part of the fusion reaction. So the very first, back in the time of 1932, there was the first fully artificial nuclear reaction and transmutation was achieved at Cambridge University's Cavendish Labs in the United Kingdom by Ernest Walton and John Cockcroft. They built a proton generator that would artificially accelerate protons inside a high-voltage vacuum tube at 700 kilovolts. The particle accelerator could target a stream of protons at clusters of lithium-7 atoms in order to break up the nucleus inside each of them into 2 alpha particles. The reaction would result in the transmutation of lithium nuclei into helium nuclei, accompanied by a release of energy from the diminished mass. The feat was popularly known as splitting the atom, and helped validate Albert Einstein's famous equation that energy equals mass times the constant the square of the speed of light equals mc squared.
So that's where the splitting of the atoms started then?
Yes, in 1932.
How about that? And
Walton and Cockcroft were awarded a Nobel Prize in 1951 for their achievements. So basically, to get back to what is lithium, basically, if you look at it is an element. So if you look at your periodic table of elements, remember chemistry class, if you remember, hydrogen has an atomic number of 1. It has 1 electron and 1 proton. And also has an atomic weight of 1. So that's it. The nucleus is 1 proton of hydrogen, and you have 1 electron orbiting around that nucleus. Helium has an atomic number of 2. It has 2 protons plus 2 neutrons and 2 electrons circulating around it. So it actually has an atomic mass of 4. So lithium is actually the third element in the periodic table. It's got an atomic number of 3. It has 3 protons and 3 electrons, and it has an atomic weight of 6.93. So it can have either 3 extra neutrons or 4 extra neutrons. And it turns out that that was the element of choice to basically use to split those neutrons off and transmute lithium into helium. And by doing that, by bombarding it with a proton generator, a particle accelerator, basically you made energy. And so that was a validation of Einstein's theory of relativity back in 1932. So basically, and then basically we, out here with the test site, we were working with the harnessing of that. We basically worked on, out of that splitting of the atom came the discovery that you could also use, create nuclear fission reactions by using uranium. And then basically back here, the Nevada Proving Ground got started in 1951. And basically a bomb was dropped from a bomber on Frenchman's Flat in the Mojave Desert, just 65 miles north of Las Vegas. It was a 1 kiloton atomic bomb, and it created a nice little mushroom cloud out here.
I remember hearing about this.
That was in 51?
That was in 51. That's when the Nevada test site got started out here. But more complex nuclear fission reactions were implemented by using heavy elements derived from rich uranium to create the first atomic bombs. Atmospheric tests continued here for 6 more years at the Nevada test site after 1951. Local Las Vegas residents like to, make every time they exploded an atomic bomb, have a big celebration about that. So it's kind of interesting. And
thank God we're still alive.
That's right.
We're not blowing.
Yeah. So, basically, but the Russians also learned how to do this as well. So, so we gravitated toward doing more powerful bombs, going from 1 kiloton bombs to 5 megaton bomb. So we made a huge step up, and the way you could do that, basically, A bombs were limited to 500 kiloton. You needed more power. So we went to basically a 2-stage bomb, which is a fission and a fusion reaction. So the first stage basically uses uranium to create a fission, but the second stage uses lithium again, so lithium-7, and it's a fusion reaction where lithium again is fused together into hydrogen isotopes of deuterium, which is 2 hydrogens inside the atom. So the fission blast would start a secondary chain reaction that would release with lithium atoms to release even larger amounts of energy. So Nevada's connection to this is that we have the Nevada test site here, and some of the energy companies like Chevron and everything started looking around the state and found out we have a lot of lithium in the state here. So we have it
Do we have
in
the
different
most
forms.
lithium out of all the states in the United States?
Not as far as size, we have a lot of lithium. I don't know about quantity, but I know we have a lot. But it's in different forms. So lithium likes to bind with other materials. Up north in Humboldt County, it binds with clay. And so we were talking about Nemaska Lithium trying to pull lithium out of spodumene crystals. There was a company called Western Lithium that was trying to pull it out of the clay deposits there, and they're huge. They're right around Highway 80, not far from the Gigafactory, but it's costly to do that. And the same with the spodumene process. So basically the most easiest way to harvest lithium is at the Silver Peak mine, which is 200 miles north of here. And because it's the easiest and cheapest way, it's the largest one in the country. There weren't too many lithium mines in the past because there wasn't a lot of applications for it other than cosmetics and industry. So the way they do it is that mine is on top of a volcano, an extinct volcano, with bubbling hot springs that are pumped up. And those hot springs coming up from the Earth's interior actually leach the lithium out of the rock and do a lot of the processing. Then you pump it into a pond and let the sun evaporate the water away from the brine, the
before you erupt any further, we're going to take a little break, and we'll talk more about lithium when we come back with Stan Hanel on Shades of Green.
Sounds great.